OmegaMetroid.com is here. We're so proud to finally share our website with you, giving Metroid fans a dedicated one-stop shop for the latest news, fan creations, walkthroughs, maps, and of course, the latest episodes of the Omega Metroid podcast. That's not all. If you'd rather listen on YouTube, you can check out episodes there. And if you really want to take your Omega Metroid experience to the next level, consider supporting us on Patreon. You'll get access to special Discord roles, a platform on the website to promote your projects, exclusive bonus shows, and so much more. Memberships start as low as $1 a month. OmegaMetroid.com is the source of all this great content. So whether you're a new Metroid fan or a series veteran, OmegaMetroid.com is the place for you. Check out OmegaMetroid.com today.
And welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined as always by Dakota Lasky. Dak, my friend, what a week we've had. How you doing?
Yeah, you added the OmegaMetroid.com there. I like a little spin. Yeah, a little spin to it. It's awesome. We are within the past week. We just had the Omega Metroid Direct, the launch of OmegaMetroid.com. We've got some new posts on the site. We've got, everyone checking it out. So yeah, that's been awesome.
We gotta talk. We gotta talk about my webcam. What the hell was up with that,
dude?
That was horrible.
I think
horrible.
Well, I mean, we gotta maybe put together a stream to fund you a new webcam or something, man. Like you can get one of those Logitech webcams, bro. Like they're
all right. So let me tell you something. I'm using a Logitech webcam, right? So, and I'm filming this Omega Metroid Direct, and it looks great. I watch it back. And like I'm watching it, I can see the Logitech like little app or whatever while I'm filming it. It looks fine. I'm like, all right, whatever, let's just do this. And the decision to do a video direct was made very late, like a day or two before.
But it was the right decision, I think.
And I'm watching it back, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is like it was horrible. But at that point, I was like, whatever, let's just get this out in the world.
Yeah, the next Direct, we'll make sure that it's in HD, in glorious high definition.
Yeah, 4K.
Other than that, let's see, what else? I mean, the latest Destiny expansion came out, which I've been absolutely enjoying. I didn't talk about it. It actually came out before the last episode that we recorded. Excuse me. But I didn't really talk about it much because I was still working on the campaign. But wow, so good. Best expansion they put out so far. Best campaign they put out so far. And yesterday, because we were talking before the show, we were both tired before coming into this, and you had gone and saw the Batman. I spent 10 hours of my day yesterday doing the new raid and didn't even complete it. It was that difficult. One of the hardest things I've ever done in a video game my entire life. Very, very, it was a lot of fun until we were all kind of beaten down and demoralized and gave up. But, wow, I have been enjoying that a ton. I cannot wait to play some more Destiny, and I'm also looking forward to checking out Elden Ring, because everyone else has been posting about that, and I am missing out, so I definitely have to check that out.
Have you ever, let me interrupt for a second, have you ever played a Souls game ever?
I
never have.
I played a Souls game. I've also played Sekiro, which is along the same kind of game. So
I thought that Sekiro and like Bloodborne are basically Souls games, right?
Pretty much, yeah. They're different styled Souls games. I didn't play Bloodborne, but I did play, I think, Dark Souls 1 and 2. I don't know if I played 3. But I did play Sekiro, and I like games where you have really awesome boss fights and like enemies to fight, so I'm really into that, and the difficulty and the challenge behind it. So if I can deal with the Destiny raid, I think I can, especially on day one contest mode. I think I can deal with Elden Ring. So very much looking forward to checking that out. And so that's what I've been doing lately. I've been playing a ton of Destiny. Would like to check out Triangle Strategy. That just came out. Everyone's saying that's pretty good. I want to
Really?
check. Yeah,
I didn't think that was your type of game for some reason.
I mean, I'm down for. I like all different kinds of games, man.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a game that I would put as much time into, like a Destiny or a Halo or a fighting game or something like that, for sure. But I think it looks really cool. It's a game I would like to play at least once. And I might even try that new Kirby game because there's a demo. But I have a feeling that I probably wouldn't put any time into that. Horizon came out, so there's that. There's a lot of good stuff that's come out recently. King of Fighters, I believe, came out recently as well. So there's a lot of. I mean, this is one of the strongest release times for games I think in a long time. So I'm really looking forward to checking all that out. Probably will be a little bit longer because I'm still hooked on Destiny as I usually am. And so that's what I've been up to.
When you said you were tired, I didn't even have to ask. I was like, all right, this guy just probably stayed up playing Destiny all night.
Dude, it was 10 hours and we didn't even finish it, bro. Like, we got to the third of like 6 encounters. It was a 10-hour stream, and I was so beaten down. I'm like, I gotta give up. I can't do this anymore. It was so hard. I'm looking forward to, because it's on a contest mode, so like everyone's power is kind of evened out, so there's no like advantage. Once that goes away, then we can level up higher and it won't be as hard. So I'm looking forward to redoing it. But for those of you who know, the Caretaker can screw that guy. Screw the Caretaker. Absolutely hate that man.
We're gonna talk about it a little bit later, but maybe you do need to do some Destiny stuff for Omega Metroid Patreon. I think there are people out there that listen to that.
We got it. A Destiny podcast, Halo podcast, wrestling. By the way, wrestling. You have AW Revolution
I'm watching
tonight.
the show tonight.
As of this. So I am going to go watch the Smash Ultimate Summit, but I will also be watching the AEW Revolution pay-per-view tonight because that is going to be a banger.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, we should totally, maybe we could record something on Revolution after. Actually, before I get to the website, I saw the Batman last night. Dude, that movie was awesome. I think, so I saw a lot of people say that this movie gives The Dark Knight a run for its money. And like that is a favorite movie of mine, The Dark Knight. I think it's a favorite movie of most people, but like I think I agree with that. I think it's a very different take on Batman. I'm a big Batman guy. I can't wait to talk with Russ from Tomes of Evil about this movie, but it was really, really good. And like the thing that I loved about this movie is it was like 90% Batman and 10% Bruce Wayne. Like a lot of movies kind of play into that balance a little bit more. And not that I'm saying I don't like Bruce Wayne, but this was it was a very different take, and it was really awesome. So, but it's a long movie, man. It's 3 hours long, so don't go to the 10:30 showing.
I'm gonna be seeing it in IMAX on the 11th, I think. So the end of this week, I will be seeing it in IMAX. Because at this point, when I go to the movies, I go to see something in IMAX. Otherwise, I'll just watch it at home. Honestly, before all the reviews came out, I really wasn't excited to see the movie at all. Like I'm so over like superhero origin stories. I know it's not really an origin story, but just like I know the Batman story, I got it. And like I'm not really I like Batman, but I'm not like a huge DC Comics or Batman guy. So like I don't know, the world and the villains don't like I'm not like, oh, I need this. Right. Like I need a Batman Beyond movie more than anything else. And I feel like I've mentioned that before on the show. So like I wasn't really, I'm like, oh, do I really need to see this? But everyone's saying that it's really good. Some people are saying it's phenomenal. Some people are saying it's the best Batman movie. It's better than, and I love The Dark Knight, and so that's my favorite Batman movie, which is not saying too much because that's probably many people's favorite, but everyone's saying it's really good, so I gotta see it, and I got IMAX tickets, so I'm going to see it.
Let me plug something here before we move on for Batman. Nobody ever talks about this movie in the running for the best Batman movie, but they absolutely should. Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, 1993, in the animated universe. This movie is so good.
That's one of the best animated movies, I think, from that era as well.
Oh yeah, totally. All right, so before we move on to today's topic, which is going to be really fun because we're picking an all-star roster of Metroid tropes here, and I'm looking forward to this. We did it on the Zelda side. I'm going to see how it translates over to the Metroid side, but we got to talk about the launch of OmegaMetroid.com. Of course, we had our Omega Metroid Direct earlier in the week, and we launched OmegaMetroid.com, which is live now and is geared towards new players, veteran players. There's walkthroughs, there's guides, there's maps, there's videos, there's fan news, there's fan creations. I just wanted to take a moment just to say thank you to everybody for the amazing response. I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, I've been working on this, and the team's been working on this for a long time, months. And I feel like, for me at least, when you put something like that out there, I was a little bit worried that nobody would really care, and that it was just like, oh, okay, whatever. And we had a lot of really great reception from our community. From, I had people I didn't even know tweeting about the direct and saying that there were cool things going on in the Metroid community, and it was really awesome to see. And again, we launched a Patreon account for the website as well, and it was really encouraging to see people sign up for that too, because again, I was just like, I don't know, I was like, does anybody care about this? And to see that we had the support that we did on day one was like so awesome, and I was so humbled, and just wanted to thank everybody for that. I recorded two solo podcasts, which was super weird for Patreon. And so those are going to be coming out soon. But yeah, I mean, it's weird recording a podcast by yourself. Like, usually if I'm like kind of running out of air, I can throw it over to you and you can go for a bit, but not here. And I went 50 minutes doing a show, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. So it's been a whirlwind couple days. Just wanted to thank everybody. And, if you're into Metroid, I encourage you guys to check out OmegaMetroid.com. If you know somebody that's starting off with Metroid and they need a little bit of a hand in the right direction, or a map or anything like that, send them over to OmegaMetroid.com. It was a wild and awesome couple of days. And I thank everybody on the team, including yourself, Dak, and then just everybody in the community. Like I said, I was worried no one would care, and it doesn't seem like that's the case at all. So it's just like, it's so nice to finally have this out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell you put a ton of time into it. I mean, obviously it wasn't just you, but like, this is something that you spearheaded, right? And when you can tell someone put a lot of work and care into something, that it's reflected in the work, and then people will also gravitate and care about it as well. So I'm not surprised that people are really into it, and I hope people continue to check it out. We have a lot of awesome resources in the community already, so it's a really cool thing to be part of that as well, and kind of be, shoulder to shoulder with a lot of other great contributors and websites out there and content creators for Metroid. So that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, the amount of work you put into it, Doom, both of you put in a ton of work into that. We have some really great staff members, joining the team now, and contributors and writers and social media people. So it's awesome, and hopefully the team continues to grow. I'm looking forward to what we got coming down the pipeline. And yeah, I mean, it's an awesome site, so I'm really happy to be part of it, and I'm glad that you feel good about it too, because I know you've been working really hard on it. So I'm glad that you're able to rest a little bit, knowing that people not only like it, but are feeling the same way you feel about it.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that, and and especially for all. I can't tell you how nice it was when you were just like, all right, I got my idea for how this is gonna function. I was like, oh, great, awesome, that was so nice. I do want to say one more last thing before we move on. So I usually play like a game of Pictocross at night. Like, that's kind of my like come down game. Like, it settles me down before bed. Mm-hmm. But I don't really count that as like playing a quote unquote video game. So on Saturday, I fired up Earthbound for my Nintendo Switch Online, which is, and I'm just having an absolute blast. But I think it's because not only is that an awesome game, but like, for the first time in the last 6 months, I'm playing a video game that isn't for a walkthrough, that isn't for a podcast. I'm just playing a video game, and it was so nice.
Feels
like, I was
nice,
like,
man.
This is awesome. So yeah,
I mean, especially the era we live in now, where like I feel like everything has to be monetized. You got to be making something and creating something and doing this and doing that. I think people sometimes forget, like, it's fine to just play a video game just to play a game and just to enjoy it. That's how I felt a lot recently. Like, I love just getting on Destiny and just gaming. I'm like, I'm not of course I stream it sometimes here and there, but like at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not doing this because like for any ulterior reason. I'm doing it because I just love the game and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it, and that's a great feeling. And I hope that people remember that as well. You don't always have to do something with it. You can just enjoy it, and that's because it's a hobby. And if you want to make it more than that, that's also cool too. But it's nice to hear that you can just enjoy a game and love it and have fun, because I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, so something about Earthbound too. It's so weird and quirky and different that it was putting a smile on my face. But
that's good.
That's for another day. Today we've got, so this gimmick I thought of actually when I was watching hockey last year, and it was about All-Star season, and they were, the usual debate of like who's going to the All-Star game, et cetera, et cetera. And so we tried this on the Zelda side, where it was like, all right, so we're going to kind of take this central idea, but like we're going to pick our favorite like water-themed dungeon, fire-themed dungeon, and so we ran the gambit of all that stuff. And I wanted to translate that over to Metroid, even though I feel like Zelda is a lot more defined in terms of like the dungeon themes and stuff like that. I still think that we can play a little bit with that theme in Metroid, and we're going to build an all-star game. And I'm going to give you our list of criteria here that we're picking our favorite of these areas and moments and sequences from from all the different Metroid games. And again, we're going to kind of play with the terminology a little bit loosely here, but I'm going to run down the list, and I'm also going to put this list in the episode notes so that you guys listening along can make your own list and tell us what you think. So we're going to be picking from all the various Metroid games our favorite rock area, so like rock or cavernous area, our favorite water themed area, our favorite ice themed area, our favorite fire themed area, our favorite forest / jungle themed area, our favorite scary kind of environment or area, technology or industry themed area, our favorite Ridley Fight, our favorite Shinespark Puzzle, the type of Metroid that we want to be included in our game, and our favorite escape sequence. So we're gonna see how this goes. We're gonna put the Metroid skin on this all-star idea, and I think have a fun time with it, because there's, once you kind of loosen the restrictions on what the on how exactly the names apply, like there are actually a lot of different like options that you can choose from, and I had a little bit of a tougher time than I thought that I might, choosing some of my areas. Some of them were pretty clear cut, but some of them were a little bit harder.
You already know what the areas I'm picking. I feel like if anyone listening to this been listening to the show for a while, you could probably name almost every area I think I'm going to end up picking here. So I think you probably will be able to as well.
I know for sure what your ice, what your tech, and what your Ridley Fight are going to be, for sure.
Okay.
Really?
The tech one? Interesting, because I'm 50-50 on whether or not you'll know that one, but I think you'll have a good idea.
No,
yeah.
I know it. I know it.
Okay.
And I think we have the same one. But why don't you start us off, Dak? So, favorite rock / like, that kind of themed area. What say you?
Well, this one I think you also should be able to pick because it's Chozo Ruins from Metroid Prime. This is because I had to ask you if this counted as a rock. It's more of a sandy area, I think, but I guess it counts.
We're playing fast and loose with the rock terminology here.
Sand is just a different kind of rock, just really nice and granular. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Chozo Ruins I think is the pick for me. It's from my favorite Metroid game, and I don't know, just another full package kind of area where it's like a nice open lobby that really kind of invites you to explore all these different facets and corners, and you dig deeper into the Chozo lore right at the beginning of the game, which I think is really cool. You can clearly see it used to be lived in. You have like the overgrowth of these old trees in there, and you get deeper and deeper into like more mechanical aspects of the Chozo kind of structures and facilities in there. Flagra is such an awesome boss, and again, kind of the whole like theme of that area is very reflective of the overall theme of the game, which is very much, you have Phazon, which is this poison of the planet, and you can see very much how Chozo Ruins is essentially like a smaller example of that. The whole point of that area is, you're cleansing it from, the infection that it has, and that's when you finally take out Flagra at the end. And I love so many of the different, like, the structures, the architecture. It's open. You have the lights shining through. You have the awesome lore areas and like the sandy, like quicksand looking lore pieces on the wall. You get into like the dynamo area, the enemies you run into, like the war wasps, and even like otter creatures like the stone toads there. So cool. And it's again such a very, I don't know. It's I think it's for an area that's very beige and like sandy colors. I think it's overall a very colorful kind of area, just the character wise and the different areas you get to go to. I love like the towers where you're jumping around, like going that one room you're going around the big tree and you have like those huge I don't know, like the weird arm things that come out, you know what I'm talking about?
The vine gimmicks.
The vines, the vines with
yeah.
like the grass and whatnot, like all the different, you get like immediately immersed in like the Chozo symbols and symbology there. It's such an awesome, because I mean, Town Overworld is the real opening. Well, not the real opening, technically. The Frigate Orphean's the real opening, but like Town Overworld is the first place you really get to on the planet. But Chozo Ruins you get to almost immediately after, and that's when you really, I feel like, start to get engrossed in the actual background of the planet. It has so much really cool stuff to uncover. So this one immediately was the thing that stuck out to me the most in my head first. So that's what I went with.
And you make very, very, very compelling points. So this was kind of a 2-horse race for me, and I was pretty sure that you were going to pick Chozo Ruins. So I went the other direction, but it was really between Criteria from Super Metroid and Chozo Ruins. And I think that if I were to look at each area, I think that Chozo Ruins is probably the superior area, but there's a certain sort of nostalgia that I have for Criteria and a certain atmosphere that I think that it has that is just like very, very fantastic. That makes it it just slightly gives it the edge to me. I think that I can't get over that first impression that I had when you land in your ship and there's the rain and like it just seems like such a mysterious place. You've got the ruins of the original Torian at the bottom. You've got the wrecked ship, and nobody knows how that got there, what it's doing there. Just like kind of a very like unsettling ambiance to this area. Now, this is a vastly smaller area than almost every other area in Super Metroid, and I think that everything that you said about the Chozo Ruins is definitely true. Like I said, there's just a certain type of nostalgia that I have for this area that just made me pick it. You know, I spent so many hours trying to learn how to bomb jump at the very top of that the crater beside your ship. I just love the ambiance of this area. So this one slightly gets the nod for me, but I do think that Chozo Ruins is definitely like right behind it. I think that actually Arteria is another strong contender as well, and maybe with a few more years to simmer, that could be a contender as well. But Aegon Wastes was another one that I thought of.
Yes.
But then to me, Aegon was kind of like a lesser version of Chozo Ruins. So that kind of quickly disqualified that for me. And then I was kind of actually playing around with the idea that the surface from Samus Returns could be considered as well, but I ended up not going that route. But yeah, even though I'm kind of contradicting myself here by saying it's my all-star pick, I don't think it's the best, but it's my favorite rock area. Just because that was the first Metroid that I ever played. Like it was the first area in any Metroid that I ever played. So it's a special one for me.
Absolutely. I mean that's the thing too, is that Chozo Ruins is one of, other than landing into like going through the Frigate Orphean, landing in Town Overworld, and then like you first start exploring Chozo Ruins, like that's one of my earliest memories of playing a Metroid game. So absolutely, it's such a, like, even that first cutscene where it kind of gives you that overlook as Samus enters that area, that sticks in my brain. That's burned into my brain matter right there.
All right, well let's keep going here and let's talk about water areas. I should have said I know this one as well because I know what you're gonna say. So
really,
take it away. I think I do. Yeah.
All right, I want you to guess what I'm gonna say.
The downed Frigate Orphean.
I knew you were gonna say that. I actually didn't pick that one, but
wow, okay.
only because technically it is part of another area which I did pick. So I didn't want to kind of overlap that. It is a big favorite of mine, but actually my favorite water area is Sector 4 from Fusion.
Okay.
Yeah, this one again. Yeah, this was a very 1-2 kind of thing for me. But also I also took into account that technically the down frigate is part of a larger area, so I didn't like outright go for that one. And I will say, I mean, I love the down frigate area. It's one of my favorite areas in any Metroid game. The music is impeccable. I love like your little introduction to the area, and fighting around in and of itself is so cool because you're going through a section of the game that you already went through previously. So it might even be a tie, right? Like Sector 4 and Down Frigate are right there, neck and neck for me. But I really like Sector 4. It's one of the more memorable areas from Metroid Fusion for me. I love like the juxtaposition of the natural like underwater areas you get, which are also some of like the not frustrating, but like sometimes like, pretty challenging moments of the game. And normally I wouldn't even really like a water area like that, but I really do like that one. And then also you have like the more like the tech like ship parts of the area where like you're dealing with like the electrified water and the different platforms and the things stuck to those platforms. Like that sticks out to me. And then I think the thing that set it over the edge for me in terms of Sector 4 winning over the Down Frigate was the Ceres boss fight. That's another one of my favorite boss fights in any Metroid game. It's a really awesome build to that because you know that there's something that was housed in this area, and you kind of go through. It's like tank at first, and then you finally take it on. I guess Ceres X or whatever. That's a really cool boss fight. So I would say it's super close, and maybe in another day I would pick Down Frigate. But like I said, I didn't pick it because it's part of a larger area that I did already pick. So I was trying not to do that. But Sector 4, really awesome area. It has cool juxtaposition of its two major kind of aesthetics. Has an awesome boss fight. And I like the music of that area too as well. And once you finally get out of it and you drain the water and all of that, like it's a cool dynamic area, which is another thing that Fusion excels at, is having like these dynamic changing areas. So I went with that one.
Okay, I respect that. And you know what, actually, the thing about Metroid Fusion that works really well for what we're doing is like each sector is like quite
perfect,
quite obviously themed. So that,
yes.
that works really well.
Yeah.
I kind of cheated a little bit. And I went with the Hydro Station from AM2R.
Okay.
I just first of all, the music just like really captivates me about that place. It always has set it apart. But I just think it's so impressive how that area was like reimagined and redefined. Like you've got all these like, it's such this incredible structure. You've got the awesome like different Metroid nests in there, and I feel like sometimes in Metroid games, even in the Down Frigate Orpheon, which I really love, there are some times where it's just like, all right, I'm moving too slow and I'm underwater for too long, and I never really felt that way playing the Hydro Station in AM2R. I think that Brenia from Metroid Dread is a pretty big offender.
I think that's the worst water area in a Metroid game, man. Maybe it was just for me, or maybe how I approached it. But like, I said this so many times. I was underwater for for so long without any kind of way to move faster, and it was tough.
It's a momentum. Not killer, but it certainly slows your momentum. And I kind of feel that way about Frigate Orpheon as well. Is like, I can always remember having to slowly jump up that kind of that slopey area, and you've got all the stupid vines that are whipping you in the face or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hydro Station, I feel like, is just like, it's very fluid, no pun intended, where you can just keep moving, keep fighting, and you can, even though it's a defined area, like the way that Samus Returns and Metroid 2 in general is laid out, like you do have your like defined sectors or areas or whatever. You still do have the option to kind of approach it in either way that you want. But I think the thing that just really puts this over the top for me is I always come back to the music. It blew me away the first time that I heard it and just fit the atmosphere so well. So that was my pick. Another one that I was considering was the Torvus Bog, which I think is another really, really strong water area. But that one is just slightly weighed down by, again, like it is a while before you get the, not the gravity suit, but whatever that jetpack is that you have in Metroid Prime 2. So kind of by definition, I had the Hydro Station come out as my winner. So yeah, there we go. Ice area. I feel like I know yours.
Yes, it is the Phendrana Drifts, also from Metroid Prime. This is, I mean, come on, this is one of the best areas in a Metroid game, period. Not even just for an ice area. And I think as a Metroid Prime fan, anyone would probably gravitate towards this one. It's the most distinct of the areas, I think, one of the most, if not the most, but certainly one of the most in the whole Metroid Prime series. Even for just being like a themed area, right? Like other areas in Metroid Prime 2 and Metroid Prime 3 stray away from that, right? They don't go for like the simple, this area is fire, this area is water, this area is ice or whatever. But I think that's also because Metroid Prime was the first of the series, and it's very much like Super Metroid in 3D in many ways, which has similar kind of thematic areas. Though I would say even maybe to a less degree than Metroid Prime does. But the ice area, that you get in Metroid Prime with Phendrana Drifts is not like, I think, just a simple like, okay, everything's frozen and whatnot and that's it. Like, you have, again, the Chozo artifact or architecture, or there's artifact there too, but the Chozo architecture that's built into the area, which is really cool and gives it some life and that lived in feeling, and you feel like you're not just exploring ice caves the whole time, but you're exploring these like abandoned areas that the Chozo once occupied, which is such a cool aspect of the game overall. And then, of course, you have the depths, which you go even farther, and it really opens up into like a more natural area that you're exploring. And then eventually you get to Glacier 1, you get to the research facility, you get to the space pirate area. So again, it's like a multifaceted area that all works together, because why wouldn't the space pirates have this, research facility dug deep into this huge glacier, whatever it is, right? These icy mountains. The skyboxes and the areas are so cool, and it's one of the more beautiful and majestic areas of the game, if not the most beautiful and majestic area of Metroid Prime, maybe the whole series.
I think easily.
Yeah,
of Metroid Prime.
Yep. The music is again absolutely fantastic, and you enter the area for the first time and you get that overview cutscene again. You have like Ridley fly over it as huge shadow come out, and then you go deeper and deeper into the depths and the drips and the depths, and then eventually the space pirate facility. I love Phendrana Drifts. It's one of the reasons why I love Metroid Prime. It's just such an amazing area where you're out there by yourself. It's because we talk about what makes a Metroid game a lot on this show, and for any Metroid fan, like the feeling of like isolation and being out there on your own. You don't have any backup. Like it's such a critical mark of a lot of Metroid games. Even though I'm a big fan of Metroid Fusion, it is the case in that way, but also isn't. In Metroid Prime, it straight up is, right? Like, you are out there on your own, you're exploring this whole planet by yourself, and there's nothing, it's just you and nature, and, I guess the space pirates as well, because they're always there. That's just, Phendrana Drifts is like, just evokes that feeling of isolation in so many ways, and beauty, and being able to take in your surroundings, and then the curiosity of it, bringing, what's this big Chozo building over here? What's this huge cavern and causeway on this way? There's a space pirate facility here, and you get to explore that. And that even leads to some of the more awesome and cool moments of the game when you get deeper and deeper into that facility as well. I could talk on and on about Phendrana Drifts, and didn't we even do an episode?
That was our very first mapping Metroid.
Yeah, it was our first mapping Metroid. Yeah, I think that was the best way to start that series off.
I remember somebody told us that was a bad idea for Phendrana to be our first. Yeah,
I don't even remember that. They were wrong.
They were wrong. Yeah,
they were very wrong. I love Phendrana Drifts, man. It's one of my favorite parts of any Metroid game. Period. One of the reasons I love Metroid Prime overall, and that's I think it's an area that would translate very well to a 2D Metroid, but when you get to see it through Samus's eyes with your own eyes, and you get to experience it in first person, just wow, the gravity of the area, no pun intended, is just awe-inspiring. So absolutely Phendrana Drifts, no question. I think this is the first one on this list that I wrote down easily.
I would be surprised so we're gonna have this template in the episode notes. I would be surprised if a single person picked any other area than Phendrana Drifts. Obviously, This is my pick as well. For everything that you just said, it's the total package. You've got the amazing music. You've got three very distinct versions of the same area, which I think really gives it legs. You've got like the research facility, you've got the edge, and you've got like the main Phendrana as well. You've got all those even like the pockets of like caves and stuff. I just feel like look really majestic. There's tons of cool expansions in here. It's just like a very large area too, which also helps. But the other thing that Phendrana has going for it, not that it wouldn't win regardless, but there's actually not as many other ice areas as you might think in Metroid games. Obviously, Sector 5 comes to mind from Metroid Fusion, which I think is like a solid sector, but I think of all of the sectors in Metroid Fusion, you actually don't spend Sector 5, I think, is one of the ones that you spend the least amount of time in, even though you fight Nightmare. And then you've kind of got
that
small... Yeah, I mean, it is good, and it actually has one of my. I think that's probably my favorite theme from any of the sectors in Metroid Fusion. But then, I mean, beyond that, you have the small pocket of Brio, which is like you go through this like portal and you go into the ice version, but it's super tiny. You have little bits and pieces here and there in Metroid Dread, but not anything. You know what? I guess you could say that when the planet freezes, you could consider that
that is a cool area, but it's not
even that. Thing. It's such a linear path that it's not really to be explored. It's mostly to just get you from point A to point B. So there's not really a whole lot of competition. But I mean, I think to your point, you could put Phendrana against any area in the series, and you'd have a really, really strong case that like this is the best area in Metroid. Period. Like period. It really has it all. Like it has a great boss, great expansions, great music. It looks awesome. It really is like the whole package. So I would be surprised if anybody else picked anything other than Phendrana Drifts, because I don't know. I can't think of anything that rivals it at all. This next one though, I actually think that's not the case, because this is probably the one that I had the toughest time with, and that is the fire area. So I think that there's actually a lot of like really strong contenders, a lot of really strong options that you can choose from, and I think that all of them have their merits. I'm curious to see what you picked.
This one was I don't know if I would say it was not easy or anything, but I wasn't entirely sure. But then when I kind of like settled, I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely the one. I picked Norfair from Zero Mission for me, and this one, I think mostly it's the aesthetic and the music. You know, I wouldn't say it's like it is structurally a really awesome area gameplay wise, but what always stood out to me is just the how it looks aesthetically, right? And it kind of does feel, I think Super Metroid has a similar aesthetic for this area too, but like Zero Mission, it looks so cool. Like you have like the green bulbous like walls and whatnot, and then obviously it's like such a crazy area in the back. Even like Super Metroid has like the awesome like background graphics and whatnot too. I wasn't sure which one to really go with, but I think it can go kind of either way. The music is awesome. I almost said Magmore Caverns, but I was like, nah, I gotta.
I think that would be a good answer, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I wanted to mix it up a little bit, but Magmore Caverns is such a cool area. Maybe I would go with Magmore Caverns, but Zero Mission is also another favorite game of mine, so I'm okay with going with Norfair. I think it's just like a classic Metroid area, which is really solid. But then again, Magmore Caverns is really good too. I don't know. This one, this was again something that I was kind of tossed up on, because I really wanted to just like, all right, I'm going to pick another prime area. I'm going to go with Magmore Caverns again. Screw it. But I was like, Norfair from Zero Mission also really sticks out to me. I could go either way on that one, I think. But I think I might go Zero Mission, Norfair. I don't know.
Okay, so I was running the gambit, and to me, this one was the hardest one to pick from. So actually, I disqualified Norfair from Zero Mission fairly early on for me.
Okay.
Just because you don't have that Ridley boss fight in this area, like it's in the
Ridley
area.
Lair. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I do think that, like you said, it does look really cool, like all like the kind of green and purple bubbly areas and stuff like that. But I'm not crazy on the original Norfair theme. I love the Ridley theme, but not the Norfair theme. So that one was out for me. I was thinking of Sector 3 from Metroid Fusion, which is a really fun little area, because like you get to fight Box, which I think is a fantastic fight. Yes. You have the escape sequence, or I guess not escape sequence. Oh yeah,
the boiler room. I honestly can't change mine.
Sure.
I love the boiler escape sequence, which I'll point out later, because that's also a category. But that's one of my favorite.
That one's really.
Fusion.
It's really fun, and I actually think that like the boss fight, even though it's not really a quote-unquote boss fight, you basically just shoot a human, but it's kind of unsettling, so I think that that's really a fun area as well. And there's like a lot of really cool expansions and stuff in that area, so that was a really strong contender. Obviously, Magmore Caverns was up there. You know what? Even Cataris from Metroid Dread, I think, is really fun. Okay. It has the central gimmick of like redirecting the thermal fuel lines, so like you can open up all the doors and whatever. And it has Big Daddy Kraid in the bottom corner of it, which is an incredible boss fight. I ended up kind of taking the cop-out route, I feel like, because I was like, I love all these, but I feel like Norfair from Super Metroid for me still stands above the rest of them just a little bit, because it's really like, it's almost like two areas in one. Like it combines the Ridley area and the Norfair area of Zero Mission in the first Metroid. So it delivers a really solid Ridley fight, really awesome Crocomire fight. The music, of course, in Lower Norfair is iconic. Golden Chorizo has always been a favorite fight of mine. Tons of cool expansions in there. I think that it's just like a really... It's probably still the most well-rounded fire area, and like it's kind of nice too, because you have areas that aren't like necessarily like on fire in that area either. Like there's lots of those like pink bubbly rooms too, which kind of gives you a little bit of a breather. So I ended up going with Norfair, but I did have a tough time for this, because I think Sector 3 was probably my runner-up, but you know, I'm even gonna say something that you'll probably hate, but even the Pyrosphere from Other M, I think, is pretty decent. Like, there's lots of good areas to pick from.
I'll actually take back what I said earlier. This one, I mean, yeah,
we forgot the Cryosphere too in ice areas, which actually isn't too bad either.
I'm not entirely against that one. I think it's mostly the context of the Pyrosphere in Other M that's the worst part, but the actual area is fine. And there's actually some really cool stuff in that. And, you know, you're jumping over the big rocks and platforms. We have that huge lava fish or whatever it is jumping around. This one might actually be I'm still having an issue with picking my favorite here, because after the points you made about the fusion sector, those are all really good points, and like the boss fight's one of my favorites. And I just love like the hot like air you can see gravitating up to the top, Magmore Caverns. But like I always like the Zero Mission like aesthetic of Norfair just sticks in my head as so unique.
Right.
And maybe that's why I went
You know
with
what?
it.
Brio as well has
Brio,
I don't know if you'd say that's a fire area, but there are certainly parts that can fit.
And I would even mention Alanos from Metroid Prime Hunters, because Alanos Gateway is one of my most memorable rooms in all of Metroid, and also an awesome map. So this one's hard. This is probably the hardest one. I honestly don't know what my answer is now. I'm going to stick to my guns, but at the same time, I'd totally be okay with Magmore Caverns or Sector 3. This one is super hard, but I would not. I also agree that Pyrosphere has its positive as well. And this is honestly not surprising, because I mean this is a pretty common trope in the Metroid games, so it's no surprise that, you know, there are a bunch of options here compared to maybe like a competitor for Phendrana Drifts, which there really isn't one. So yeah, this one might leave me a bit stumped. I would say that I could go either way in all the different directions we've kind of laid out here. I don't think I'm 100% set on Norfair right now, as I would be with Chozo Ruins or Sector 4 or Phendrana Drifts.
Just for fun here, I googled Metroid Prime Federation Force levels to see if there's any chance that anything from there gets on this list. But somehow I don't think it's going to make it. So, yeah. Very tough area to choose from. I think for my money, this was the toughest.
Yes, I agree.
Foresty jungle area. Mm-hmm. I think that there are a few strong contenders for this as well. But I ended up settling on my pick, I think, fairly early on. Okay, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it.
So I went back and forth here, and again, I'm kind of sort of cheating, because the water level that I didn't pick earlier is a part of this, and I know you know what I'm talking about. I went with Talon Overworld. Again, just the music, I think it hits you right away when you first step off of it. The rain, the scenery is just such a... It's basically the same kind of feeling that I had stepping off my ship in Super Metroid and Criteria for the first time. But I do think that there's like a really solid level to be found here as well. Like you have the Frigate Orphean part, the down Frigate Orphean, which is almost like its own little section. I think that like the just overall aesthetic of it, like the quiet stillness and the rain, is just such a like ethereal feeling almost, that it's just like something that I always remember coming back to and stepping off my ship. There's lots of cool expansion stuff to do in this area. It's kind of like your hub almost, as much as it can be in a game like this. So yeah, this one was my pick. I was going back and forth though because I think that Brinstar from Super Metroid is definitely a contender. The green Brinstar area in particular, probably one of the most famous areas in Metroid. And I think that Gavarin from Metroid Dread is a contender as well. The thing about Gavarin that holds it back for me is probably the lack of like a really great boss battle and the lack of like a really great theme song. But those ones were the ones I was thinking of, and even actually Sector 2 from Metroid Fusion I think would be a strong contender as well.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, I think that I kept on circling back, and I was like, you know what? I have such fond memories of just exploring the Talon overworld, and like, I mean, some of those areas, like when you get deep into Talon overworld and you're in that, it almost looks like a temple where you have like the X-ray visor and you're fighting all the Chozo ghosts, and you've got
The
that
life
tree,
grove,
like,
yeah.
oh my god, like
Yes.
that's good stuff.
Oh, well, this one was another easy pick. It's also Talon Overworld for me. This is so easy. I mean, this is an area that, like Fendrana Drifts is, and even Chozo Ruins is like essential Metroid Prime. Like when you think of Metroid Prime, you immediately think of Talon Overworld. It's one of, I think, I mean, again, Frigate Orpheum is the first area of the game, but like, and honestly, even that area is so cool, and I love the aesthetic of that. You have like Talon 4 all the way, like not all the way, but like taking up like the huge skybox in the back, and then different asteroids. But then you go right in, you chase Ridley down to the surface, and you get out for the first time. You look up into the rain, and the music is just absolute perfection. And that again is like essential Metroid Prime. You're out there by yourself and you get to explore this new territory, this alien world, which feels so alien because you have like a very familiar, like almost rainforest, not like a rainforest, but like just a drenched, saturated
kind of
forest.
sort of rainforest.
Yeah, and then you have like the mixture of like the innate like wildlife is there, like the huge like sacks that are out. I guess that's the best, like the big like glowing orange like sack animals or flora that's there, and like the phase and tendrils and whatnot. Like it's such a beautiful mixture. It's such an immersive area, and it immediately brings you into like that vibe of Metroid Prime, and seeing it through your own eyes, seeing it through Samus's eyes is perfect. It's I love, one of my favorite things about replaying Metroid Prime is you start right there essentially, and you get to explore that. It's so cool. And then it's another area that has so many distinct portions of it as well. This is again why I didn't pick the downed frigate, because it is its own area, but it is also technically part of Talon Overworld. So I was like, okay, I'll stick with that, because the crashed frigate is one of my favorite sub areas in like a Metroid game. It's so awesome. You have the main area, you have the artifact temple, which I
didn't even mention that.
An iconic location in Metroid Prime, and I think the whole series. It's just a truly remarkable area to go through.
I think if you take away the frigate and you take away the temple, like you still
have a sick area.
You still have the Talon Overworld as your winner, at least for me.
I agree. And it is like a beautiful rainforest. You have these sick waterfalls going around. Some reason the Chozo built a half pipe in the middle of this rainforest, which, hey, I'm totally down for that. And then, you mentioned like you go deeper and deeper. You have the Great Tree Hall. You have the Life Grove where you fight the Chozo ghosts, as you mentioned, which those are sick areas that I think are really underrated as well. Like you don't think about those too much when you go through the overworld, because you don't really go to those too often, but when you do go to them, they're very iconic and important parts of those areas. You have like the sick, like you have the blood flowers, which are really cool. Like again, like the little the grass that sticks out and slows you down. There's so many awesome parts. One of my favorite parts of the game is when you first show up at the down frigate and you can't get into it so far, and you have those two
two stupid flying robots.
They're space pirates. They're
the flying space.
And they're kind of standing there, and then they like see you and they peace out, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get you though. I'm gonna come after you and get you. I love that. The artifact temple is something that I've even wished would be in a Smash game. It's such a cool stage. You have like the root cave, which is an awesome area that you're jumping around the big roots and whatnot. And then, yeah, it's a hub area that takes you to everywhere else in the game as well. So you're constantly traversing back. You have your ship hanging out there, classic Metroid style, just like in the rain. Another easy pick. I put this down right after Fendrata Drifts because this is just so easy. This is the peak of Metroid Prime like aesthetics and locations and designs for an area, and it's something that I absolutely love to this very day and always will. The music is beautiful, the area is beautiful, the gameplay you get from it is deep and fun. So and very few things, like I mentioned, kind of stack up to. Even like you mentioned, when you look up into the rain, you get like the raindrops splashing on your visor and whatnot. That's one of the things that Metroid Prime does well. Even like Chozo Ruins, you first walk through that area and you go through like the hallway with the steam and like the condensations on your visor. Like little moments like that are, I think, integral to the area overall, right? Like it could have easily been just an area that there's rain and there's no raindrops, or there's a hallway and there's no steam, but like you add a little bit of that extra flavor, a little bit more of that character to the area, and it just sticks with you. So a town overworld, just such a cool area. That's the perfect place to start the game off, and easy pick for me. I'm right there with you.
I actually thought about, I was pretty sure you're going to pick this, so I was thinking about picking something else, but I was just like, you know what, I don't think you can deny the Talon Overworld in terms of like what an incredible area it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one. I don't know. I think there's a few different contenders that, and this is a lot more subjective. So the next one is the scary area.
Okay.
But there's a few different contenders that I was thinking of, and I ended up, I think we might have the same one here.
Okay.
But I ended up going with the GFS Valhalla from Metroid Prime 3. And there's something about just like investigating this downed ship in the middle of space, and something clearly catastrophic has happened here.
Mm-hmm.
And you slowly kind of unveil the truth of what happened. And it's an area that you keep coming back to multiple different times. The music is very unsettling. There's I forget what that type of Metroid is called, but the really creepy squid looking type of Metroid in there, Metroid Hunter or something like that. And he's in there, and he's doing his thing.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very well done area, and I think it's the slow drip that really gets you, because you have to keep on, unless you're really optimizing, you have to keep on coming back, getting the fuel cells and powering it up. It's just the ambiance in here is really off the charts, and this one was one that I landed on. But I do think that there are some other pretty decent contenders for this spot. Like you have, I guess, the wrecked ship that we've covered before on Mapping Metroid would be in there, although it's a little bit, I think that the music doesn't elevate it to the next level. Yeah. I think that Sector 6 from Metroid Fusion definitely fits the bill here. Those are the ones that immediately came to mind for me. Even like the Impact Crater from Metroid Prime, I think that you could maybe make the case like that's kind of a scary area in and of itself as well. So but the Valhalla, I think for me was like the one with the most, it's creepy. You go into that ship and everybody's not there anymore. Something awful has happened. It's a creepy scene. So that was me.
I'm with you there. I think so. This one I didn't pick something that was. I didn't have a concrete pick for this one because I had a bunch of different ones. Like you have, because I already kind of mentioned it, like part of Fendrata Drifts, like the research facility always kind of scared me as a kid, especially before you get the X-ray visor. The Impact Crater, yes, that's also there for me. I distinctly remember the first time I ever played Metroid Prime. I think after the Meta Ridley boss fight, I didn't play the game for like a week because I was really afraid of going into the Impact Crater. I was really nervous, and I distinctly remember being afraid of it, especially, and then even more afraid when I finally faced off against Metroid Prime. So, that's kind of the. I don't know, that maybe not necessarily a particularly scary overall, maybe not as an adult now, but as a kid it scared me. Even the main area of like the Metroid, like just the main portion of the ship the BSL lab in Metroid Fusion, in some ways like maybe scared me a little bit because it just felt so creepy, and And then of course you have like that escape sequence against SAX, and that happens, I believe, in that area or one of those areas. That's a scary part. Yeah, I think GFS Valhalla is a really good pick, though. It certainly is one of the more like horror oriented like areas in Metroid. Maybe not just necessarily scary because the lights are off, right? So there are some really cool things that they do there. You have you have the surveillance footage, which really adds to that as well, and makes it more than just like, oh, you're kind of just going over the ruins of something that happened. Like, oh, it's actually it's really creepy in there. Yeah, I would 100% agree.
You know what could have been a good pick actually too is an Emmy zone, and maybe not anyone in particular, but just like the general concept of the Emmy zone as well.
True, an Emmy zone.
That could be good. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
The Emmy zone is probably one of the better picks there because I mean we were talking about this on the last episode. We were talking about Smash and how like it does so well without having like a distinct theme. It just really like puts you on edge because you're just like waiting for any kind of like sound or sign of the Emmy approaching you. But also I think that's the thing too, is that area very much is the context, right? Like I think by itself isn't necessarily that scary, but when you hear the Emmy, it's the scariest place in the Metroid game.
Yeah.
Also, I think in the Valhalla, it's the Phazon Metroids that are in there and the Phazon Hoppers and whatnot. I don't think they're Hunter Metroids outright. I was just thinking about that. I think you might be right. I think maybe the Emmy Zone. I would say that the most like scared I've been in a Metroid like game, aside from maybe the week I took off from playing Metroid Prime to get into the Impact Crater, was the Emmy Zone. Like I was straight up did not want to get caught by any means necessary, but that's more of the Emmy itself, right? Like if that was another area of the game and the Emmy was there, I'd be just as afraid. So,
right. I think that we're allowed to have the context of like,
okay,
you could take that zone with the Emmy too. So
maybe the Emmy zone,
yeah, the Emmy zone would be a good pick, but I think the overall like aesthetic,
yes.
I'm gonna stick with the Valhalla.
I agree. I'm with you there. I'm gonna piggyback off that and go with the Valhalla or the Emmy zone.
All right, tech area here. I feel like we got to have the same answer. But,
okay, well, I want you to go first.
Or tech industrial area. Let's put it that way. So there are a few contenders. I feel like that would be like really, really strong contenders. I think that actually our underrated pick for this might be the Pirate Homeworld, which is like a little bit techy from Metroid Prime 3. If you're going industrial, you could go Phazon Mines. Again, that's another one that fits the bill. But it's hard to beat Sanctuary Fortress.
You got me. Yes, that is also my pick, the Sanctuary Fortress. That is, but this is also an area that we've talked about in depth on the show, and for good reason. It's I think design-wise the best area in all of Metroid Prime 2. And not even
I think it's not even close.
Yeah,
not even Metroid Prime 2, yeah, definitely.
Yes, not even just gameplay-wise, but of course aesthetically, right? Like it's so distinct and feels so different from everything else on Aether. And I mean, you have that awesome like skybox and then the city below, and it's the neon. It's right in your face, and it's so distinctive. This is another favorite of Doom. The music. Oh. Yeah, this is an easy pick. I actually thought Elysia is also up there for me as well, because that's technically techy.
Yeah, okay.
Steampunk-y, techy. Elysia would be second place for me. And we again also picked Skytown Elysia, right? That was another
Mapping Metroid that just happened.
Metroid, yeah. The Skytown area is right up there for sure for me. So in that,
we just talked about the Emmy zones too. You could make a case really that Emmy zones could be a part of this like techie area
also true.
As well. Yeah.
It's a lot of range the Emmy zones have, but yeah, Skytown would be probably number 2 for me. But I'm not a huge steampunk guy, so I'm gonna go with Sanctuary Fortress is the easy winner for here. When I saw tech area, I'm like Sanctuary Fortress. It's such an awesome area. Again, awesome lore as well, which I think really adds to it. Like even with like the GFS Valhalla and Chozo Ruins and Phendrana Drifts, like these areas are not just really strong for their aesthetics, but like the significance they have to the lore of their game. I mean, I would say, every area does have that significance, but like the GFS Valhalla, it's very much like evident what's happened there, and the Sanctuary Fortress does give you a lot of background to the context of why you're there in the first place and what's happened on the planet. So It's a really, really cool area. The music is awesome. The aesthetically one of the best areas in all of Metroid Prime, and certainly the best in Metroid Prime 2. Easy pick for me, and I think would be the pick for most Metroid fans.
We should mention as well that another strong contender, I feel like, for tech area that we did mention was the Chozo Laboratory from Samus Returns. Lots of like really high tech weaponry and stuff in here. One of the few areas in that game where actually I feel like there is like a really good piece of music. So, and maybe, you know what? Maybe even the tower from AM2R, because that's also like, God, what an awesome area that place is. But yeah, I think that even with all that, it's still Sanctuary Fortress.
Yep.
Okay, so that's it for the areas, but let's move on to a couple other intangibles that we are going to be doing in our all-star Metroid game. And what is a Metroid game without a Ridley fight? So let's pick our favorite Ridley fight to include in this game. And this is one of the first things that we ever did. And I don't think we ever got a resolution. And my answer is the same. I'm sure that your answer is the same.
Yeah, you know mine.
So yeah, let's. I picked the Super Metroid Ridley fight. It's my favorite Ridley fight, and there's something about that brawl, man. It's just like, it is a fist fight brawl where like you're just pounding missiles into this guy. He is going crazy with his tail. There is somewhat strategy, but the strategy is really just like, I gotta stay alive and I gotta hit him more than he hits me. Yep. That's always really resonated with me. Like, it's just, usually when you fight, even other Ridley fights in the series, like there's kind of a pattern or a puzzle to figure out. Like when you're fighting Omega Ridley, like there's a very specific sequence of events that you have to perform and able to actually damage him. To a lesser extent, Meta Ridley in Metroid Prime. Whereas in this fight, it's just like a drag down brawl, and I love that. But it's not too easy either, because I feel like Ridley in Zero Mission and Fusion is a little bit on the softer side. So this one is that perfect blend of everything I like about a Ridley fight.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there, at least in terms of your taste. I mean, Super Metroid Ridley fight is certainly up there for me. Obviously, my pick is Ridley from Other M. No, it's Meta Ridley from Metroid Prime, easily. That's one of my favorite boss fights in the entire series, and certainly my favorite Ridley boss fight. A lot of reasons for that. I mean, aside from the fact that it has the best Ridley theme, I love the remix they do on that, which fits perfectly for Meta Ridley's character. Meta Ridley himself that's peak Ridley. That's my favorite Ridley design by far, and I love the build to this fight, right? Like the whole reason Samus goes down to Town 4 in the first place, because she chases Ridley down there, and she's exploring the planet as she learns there's a lot more going on than just Ridley happens to be there, but she's still in a way kind of chasing him down. And then of course she's going to open up the impact crater, and who shows up? It's your boy. Med Ridley swoops in. That cutscene where he's like, the music starts and he just flies in from across the plane there. He's going across the horizon. He zooms in. He's ready to go and throw down. And you have this awesome... I love this fight. The two stages of this fight are so cool. Like the first stage, he's swooping around, he's flying around at you and letting, his entire arsenal out at you, and you burn his wings. It's like, all right, time to literally throw hands, and he's charging at you, and he's doing the shock waves, and his wings are burnt out. Like, such an awesome fight. And then, of course, the ending where you finally beat him, and then the temple itself lasers him off the cliff, and he falls down to the bottom of the cliff, and he blows up. I'm like, come on. Like a full package fight. It's not just like, okay, he appears, you fight him, and all right, he's dead. Like the whole thing is from beginning to end so well executed. It's shot so well. It's built up throughout the entire game, and it's perfectly timed too. Because like at that point, like, if you collected all the artifacts, you've gone through the whole planet. Aside from going inside, like what's left? You gotta fight Ridley. Of course, he shows up at that moment. Because again, one of my favorite things about Ridley, he shows up at the most inconvenient times. And that's just like perfect right there. Like that's when else do you need trouble to show up? Certainly not that point. So Ridley makes a note of showing up right then and there. So I love this fight. I love the different stages to it. His arsenal is so cool. He has so many awesome attacks. He's not just swiping at you and biting at you. He's shooting missiles and dropping bombs on you and blasting you with lasers and whatnot. Like they went all out with his design and the boss fight. And it's not, it's not certainly the hardest boss fight in Metroid, but I don't think it's a particularly easy boss fight as well. And I think it's a really well executed FPS boss fight too. So yeah, easy.
The build sells it for me. Yeah,
yes, the build.
There's a lot of anticipation. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think that actually you could also throw in Proteus Ridley as another just fantastic
100%.
Ridley boss fight. So there's definitely a lot to choose from, and I feel like there's not a lot of wrong answers either. The only wrong answer maybe being Other M Ridley.
Other M, honestly, I know I would say that the Other M Ridley boss fight is really one of the not worst parts of the game, and it also has the really good theme. At the very least,
well, you know what? It does have a good theme. I'll give you that.
At least you can say it has the good theme, right? Yeah. Though
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of its design, and for what it's worth, I mean, there might be better boss fights. I mean, there definitely are.
Well, there certainly is.
But I don't think it's the worst one. It's just I'm not a big fan of Ridley or the game, obviously, but it has the cool theme, so it has that.
All right. One of my favorite things in 2D Metroid games is Shinespark puzzles. So there are a bunch of fantastic Shinespark puzzles that we could choose from. We're taking our favorite Shinespark puzzle and we're putting it in our All-Star Metroid game. What did anything stand out to you, Dak?
Yeah, so this is actually, and we've talked about this before, but I don't always go out of my way to, 100% Metroid games, but I really like the challenge you get from Shinespark puzzles, and there are some really good ones in the 2D series, right? Like some that just, when you finally complete them, are so satisfying. And I don't know if you'll be able to remember this one, but it's from Zero Mission, and this is one you have to, obviously you have to do it to 100% the game, but this is a late game, I believe. Actually, I'm not sure if it's a late game one. I can't remember, but there's a missile tank in Chozo. Actually, it's technically in the Space Pirate Mothership, but you're on the top left of the Chozodia map, in like the green portion of the map on the top left. There's an underwater portion that you use to charge your.
I know which one you're talking about.
You charge it. You charge your speed booster, whatever, and then you have to like climb up the different platforms, and you're like, using it and then canceling it real quick, and then you go up to the next platform and you're going up and up and up, and then you screw attack through the wall, and then you go down the next room and you use that a couple more cancels, and then you blast through the right wall at the bottom of the next room. You fly across Chozodia, or at least another outdoor Chozodia room, and then you burst into the mothership, and you go into another room and grab an energy tank on the far right. So it seems like you know what I'm talking about. This, I think, for me, is one of the hardest Shinespark puzzles in a Metroid game. Like that one is hard. I have only attempted it a couple times. I think I've only gotten it like once or twice, and I distinctly remember getting it and being like, I am never doing that again. That one was hard to learn, but I really like that one. That's like an awesome Shinespark puzzle where you feel so satisfied after you get it. It's a really technical one that requires a lot of concentration and a lot of trial and error and practice. And that was the pick for me. I didn't have too many picks that like I immediately thought of, but I remembered this one. I remember I had to look it up again just to like refresh my memory. I was like, oh yep, I remember this. This was a nuisance. This was hard, but it was so worth doing.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that one. That one was really fun. So I've been playing a lot of 2D Metroid games the last couple months, so I feel like I'm pretty well versed, and I kind of went back and forth here because I think that there are two categories that this could fall into. Ones that are just like really fun to do, and then ones that really stumped you the first time that you did it, but once you did it, it's like, okay, I got this. And my original pick was going to be the Missile Plus Tank expansion in Berenia for Metroid Dread, where you have to like Shinespark in midair a bunch of times, slide, and then you can finally get it. But I feel like once I got that, it's still a really fun expansion, but once I got it, like I've been able to get it every time. And not that it's not fun, but there was another expansion that I was thinking about, and I think it's a Power Bomb expansion from Metroid Fusion. But you go into Sector 6, and essentially you have to go and run on the top of a platform, and you charge up your Shinespark, you jump down, and you Shinespark through mid-air, and you have to you fly through there's about 7 pillars in a row, and
I know
in the very middle is the expansion, and like it's just kind of fun because like you go flying and like you have to line it up exactly, so if you miss, you have to go up and do the same thing over and over again. And like I miss all the time when I do this, but like it's just like it's so fun just like zipping and flying around, and it's not frustrating because you can just go back up and recharge. It's just it's cool, man. Like you get to fly around as like a Samus bullet, and it's It's really fun. It's one of those ones that's not frustrating when you mess it up. So this was my pick, Metroid Fusion Sector 6. So yeah, this one is a really fun Shinespark puzzle that, it's, again, put it over the top and that it's not frustrating when you mess it up, which is, I feel important.
I'm with you there. Before we go ahead, I know this isn't technically a Shinespark puzzle, but it is a Shinespark puzzle. It's more of a speedrunning trick, though, and I've mentioned on the show before, but the Ocean Fly speedrun trick that you do in Super Metroid, that one, that's a Shinespark puzzle in a way, because you gotta, I guess not, it's more of a Shinespark display of skill, maybe not.
Yeah, I've tried to do that. Oh, it's tough.
It's hard.
It's like you have to press forward on your controller in the exact right moment. You don't hold the speedrun button. You basically click forward and A at the exact same time, and it short charges your speed. It's crazy. It's super hard to do.
Yeah, it is
very
hard to
impressive.
Do, but I think it's the first trick I ever tried to learn in Super Metroid when back in college when I tried to speedrun it, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go out, I guess, instead. But I think it was right after I had watched AGDQ that one year, the 2014 4-player showcase race, which is still, as far as I'm concerned, the best speedrun anything ever. It's something I go back and watch to this day. And after that, I had watched that. I think that was 2014. I went back and I was like, I'm gonna speedrun Super Metroid, and then I'm like, damn, this is hard.
Yeah, this is hard. Yeah.
This is hard. It takes up a lot of time. But that trick was one of the first things I learned to do, and it was really satisfying when I got it down.
I fired up Super Metroid the other night just to kind of schmuck around for a little bit. I pulled off a pretty flawless mock ball, my first try. I was impressed with myself. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have some mock ball tricks in our.
We got to do a speedrun race. We do an Omega Metroid speedrun showcase race between the two of us, so who can beat the game first. I'm down.
See who can take the absolute longest amount of time to beat the game. I guarantee it'd be me.
Yeah.
All right. Let's rapid fire these last two ones here because we're running a little bit long. But the type of Metroid that is going to appear in our Metroid game. So typically, I guess other than AM2R, Samus Returns, Metroid 2, there's usually only one type of Metroid that shows up, or there's not very many. So we're just going to pick one to show up in our All-Star Metroid game. What do you have? Who's your Metroid of choice?
I'm going to go with the Omega Metroid. That is
very fitting.
Yeah. That's not why I picked it. But the Omega Metroid boss fight at the end of Fusion is one of my favorite Metroid moments. Samus Returns has some awesome moments with Omega Metroids. And I think I'm a big fan of really crazy Metroid forms. I'd maybe even say, I know it wouldn't make sense story-wise, but something on the level of a Metroid Prime would be so cool. I love those really crazy and non-Metroid designs, because you have you get the classic Metroid a lot, and you have really cool spins on that. And we mentioned the phase-in Metroids are a really cool spin on that. You have dark Metroids as well, and you have all these different kinds of Metroids. But I love the crazier stages, like a fully grown Metroid or a crazy modified, corrupted by phase-in version of Metroids. I think I didn't pick the Metroid Prime because there's only one of them, and story-wise, it only makes sense for it to have been in that situation. So the Omega Metroid shows up multiple times, and that's the one that I just love how it looks. It looks awesome. The Samus Returns version of the Omega Metroid, I think, is actually a really good design of it, but I've always loved the fusion look of it. You could see its innards, and the crazy eyeballs are bigger, and it has a more ironclad kind of look to its shell. It doesn't look as the Samus Returns one kind of almost looks feathery to me. I don't know what it is, almost fluffy.
It kind of looks like a velociraptor.
It does. It's like dinosaur. Exactly. Yeah. It's it looks like a dinosaur version of a Metroid. Huge claws and feet, and it's hunched over and swiping at you.
Yeah,
this crazy
I can
huge
see that.
mouth. But it's still distinctly Metroid looking. I would love to see more Omega Metroids, and yeah, it's also the name of our show. But that's not why I picked it. Trust me.
Okay, so I kind of cheated here. So I was I was thinking on the same lines as you, actually, where I was like, I really love the Omega Metroids from Samus Returns. It's such a challenging like boss encounter. I think that the Queen Metroid from AM2R specifically is really awesome, but I cheated and I picked Samus from Metroid Dread as my Metroid of choice for the game.
Oh, that doesn't count.
That counts.
You keep saying cheated. You came up with this, but that's cheating.
Well, what if like in our All-Star Metroid game, we can fantasy book it a little bit, and you can have like your maybe your gameplay loop, and you can turn it to Metroid Samus. I think that would be like super cool. If I can't say Samus, I'm gonna say the Omega Metroid from Metroid Samus Returns.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm a cheater, man. I'm gonna say Samus.
All
Give me a
right.
Metroid skin at least. Come on.
I think you're cheating there, but because at that point I'm like, what about the Hugh Metroid from the Metroid Prime 2 concept art or whatever 1.5? That would have been a cool design. I really wish we got to see that in full form. I'm gonna say I won't allow this one. I'm gonna have your answer be Omega
Unbelievable.
Metroid. Not allowing you to say Samus.
Can we get a second opinion on this?
No
Can
way.
Can we call in?
Where are the refs?
Where's Doom?
Yeah,
All right.
where's Doom?
Last one here. So Metroid is pretty famous for its escape sequences, and that seems very fitting that we should be ending on this. Favorite escape sequence from a Metroid game, and I'm going to go first here.
Okay.
And I'm going to shine a light on a game that I haven't really shined a light on my list as of yet, and that is Metroid Zero Mission. I think that this has the most stressful escape sequence of any of the escape sequences, because there's like that stupid R2-D2 robot that gets in your way as you're trying to haul it out of there. And then you have to fight the, what is it, Golden Pirates? Or some kind of like really strong pirates at the end before you can get into your ship. It's a very tense escape sequence, and one that I know that I'm going to make it. I know that I have enough time, but I get behind that damn robot and I'm like, come on, move it! Special shout out, I feel like, to Metroid Dread. I feel like that's a really fun escape sequence because you've got the Hyper Beam going full blast. Super Metroid is really solid. Metroid Prime 2 is really good because you got the boss fight. But yeah, something about Metroid Zero Mission, just very stress-inducing. So that's my pick.
Yeah, this one, well, I'm actually also there with you. I also picked the Zero Mission escape sequence for the same reasons, because of the stupid trash can and because of those really hard or really strong and beefy space pirates at the end, and also like the big rooms that they're in, because you end up like they're just like they can shoot you from mad far and you might not even see them on your screen, and then like they jump at you and just like chunk you for mad health. I love that escape sequence. It's really cool, and then you end up like flying away in a space pirate ship, which is sick, and you're like moving out of their hangar and you fly out. Like that's a really awesome escape sequence. But there's obviously so many good choices here. I did think of the Metroid Prime 2 one, but it still feels kind of more like a boss fight than a real escape sequence.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say the others I have listed here, the Dread escape sequence at the end is cool, even though it's mostly like just a shooting gallery with your hyper beam. It's not I never really felt like, oh, I'm never going to make it out of this. Not that I ever really feel that, but that one is more just like you're just mashing. I actually think the better escape sequence from Dread is the mid-game or earlier game escape sequence, when like the room's collapsing and whatnot, and you have to fight your way out of I think it's Arteria.
Arteria, yeah, okay. Yeah, on the way to the Various suit, yeah.
Yeah, that one is, I think, the strongest one from that game, because just how dynamic it is. Like there's fire bursting out at you and the floor's collapsing and whatnot. That I distinctly remember that sequence being like, oh, that was so sick. Like that was one of my favorite gameplay moments in the entire game, and I was hoping there was more of that. Then you have,
I would even throw the frigate Orpheon for Metroid Prime and the tutorial in there too.
I was about to say the frigate Orpheon one again. Not an escape sequence that you're like, I'm not gonna make it out, because it gives you like 7 minutes. Like you can wander, you're good. But I love that escape sequence because it does otherwise feel very intense. Like you're going through the tunnels. You can see the space pirates are fighting off one of the queen parasites, or parasite queens, before it like explodes. You're running back or outside to not only get away from the ship, but to get into your ship and chase down Meta Ridley. It's a really cool escape sequence. And then you mentioned it earlier in the show, but the fusion like boiler escape sequence, or like the turn off the overheating area of the ship of the BSL. that one I really like. That's an awesome one because that one is almost
that's strong.
A lot of enemies in the way. One of my favorite things about Fusion is that the voice that you have through all the escape sequences actually in that game. That escape sequence, the forbidden area, the secret area, that minute escape sequence, where you're just like flying through the air against the Metroids.
I didn't think of that one actually.
That's another great
strong
one.
Yeah.
Yep. And even like the last escape sequence to when you get to the Omega Metroid, which is a shorter one, admittedly, but I just love the voice you have, like the ship voice that just constantly like, 1 minute to impact, like 2 minutes, whatever it is, 2 minutes till, self-destruct, and 3 minutes until the whole place melts down and you're going to die. Like absolutely love the design behind that. I love the boiler escape, the boiler escape sequence from that. And yeah, even like the minute long escape sequence, that's probably the one where I feel the most stress in that game because it is literally a minute. And you can easily get hit on your way up there. And I don't think I've ever failed it or anything. I really felt like I was not going to get to it, but it is very tense. So Fusion, I think, has the best average overall, like in number and overall escape sequences, I would say.
I'm also going to give some love, again, to Metroid Other M, because I think that the escape sequence in that game is actually pretty strong as well. And it's different, because you do it as Zero Suit Samus. And
Also
I
true.
think at this point you have like Adam's helmet in your hand. So that one, I wouldn't say it's the best necessarily, but it's fun and I respect it because it's a little bit different as well. But yeah, this is a really strong category. I didn't think that this one had as many strong contenders as it does, but it's pretty stacked actually. So yeah, there we go.
I think that's not too surprising considering, what's a Metroid game without an escape sequence? Yeah, that's always there. Like, not every game has a Ridley fight, but there are a lot of them. I'm still surprised Dread did not have one. I'm really shocked by that. But every Metroid game has an escape sequence, pretty much. Unless does Federation Force have an escape sequence? I don't remember.
let's phone a friend. I don't know. Okay, well, I think that this concept actually translated pretty well over to the Metroid side. I think that maybe a little bit less defined than Zelda, but I think that we had a good time with it.
I think we crafted an all-star Metroid game, my friend.
I think we did too. All right, so we're gonna put the criteria in the episode notes here, so you can build your own all-star Metroid game. And next week we will be revealing our donation incentives for our live stream going down on the 19th. Until then, everybody, we want to encourage you guys to check out OmegaMetroid.com and Patreon, all that good stuff. You can get some bonus shows that are already up on Patreon, and I will be doing some ROM hack review later this week, so that should be really fun as well. Until then, we're going to get out of here. We want to encourage you guys to follow us over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod, at Spiteri316, at DaxCity_, and check us out wherever you get your podcast. Tell that Metroid fan in your life where they can get their weekly Metroid fix. Until next week, everybody, we will see you then.